many of you guys remember Melissa Vivian Jefferson? Anyone? Anyone remember Viv? Perhaps you might recognize her by her gargantuan stage name, Lizzo. 5 or 6 years ago, Lizzo became a mainstream pop star. Well, she was more like a galaxy, but after years of struggling to make it in the music industry, the Lizzo became a household name with the release of 'Cause I Love You in 2019. The album cover, it featured the Lizzo showing that she has got a lot of love to give. 3 years later, she released the album Special, which was supported by the hit single About Damn Time to Go on a Serious Diet. The album reached #2 on the Billboard 200. Vivian sold over 600,000 copies in an era where people are no longer buying albums. Lizzo was a breakout star who never missed breakfast. She was headlining tours, she was selling out arenas, she was hypnotizing fans with inclusive songs like "Everybody's Gay." She was performing with artists like Latto, who wouldn't recognize a hit record if she was hit with it. Lizzo was on top of the world and obviously crushing it. She was making millions of dollars. She was promoting a lifestyle of body positivity, or as the medical community prefers to call it, obesity. Now, of course, doctors at Woke Memorial Hospital, they have adopted a more inclusive term, birthing persons who struggle with the consumption of food or anything else within reach. From 2022 to June of 2026, Lizzo released no new music. Now, obviously, this is a horrible strategy. Once an artist finally breaks into the mainstream, you want to take advantage of their popularity by releasing a new album every year, or at least every 2 years. In the music industry, your window of opportunity rapidly closes. One day, you're a mainstream star, the next, you're completely forgotten. But Lizzo, she knew she had a very dedicated fan base. She knew that she could just offer coupons to Burger King and fans would instantly remember the positive role model of body positivity. So 2 weeks ago, after a 4-year hiatus, the Lizzo finally released her 5th studio album, Bitch. How classy. This album featured the new and improved Lizzo. After years of promoting obesity, after years of pushing body positivity, after years of promoting an unhealthy lifestyle that will put you in an early grave, the Lizzo debuted her new look where she lost 60 pounds and approximately 16% of her body fat. She lost 16% of her body positivity. The album was released 2 weeks ago, sold less than 3,000 copies in its first week of release. But that's okay. People with high levels of body positivity, they tend to move slow. Outside of an offer of free wiener at 5-Star Frank's, people with high levels of body positivity, they're not running for anything. So it's understandable why her album failed to get anywhere close to charting on the Billboard 200, or any other chart for that matter. I'm sure her second week sales were huge, right? Last week, Lizzo sold 650 records. Now, in her defense, Vivian was facing stiff competition. Check out this list of major stars who released new albums this month: Niall Horan, Malcolm Todd, Modest Mouse. Who, and who? That doesn't sound like mainstream music artist. It sounds like the casting list of a show on the Disney Channel. Today on Modest Mouse, Modest Malcolm finally works up the courage to tell Niall he has a crush on his hamster. The Lizzo was outsold by Pink Floyd, a band that was really popular 60 years ago when my 75-year-old dad was smoking doobies by the snack machine. The Lizzo was outsold by Jeff Goldblum, who was a popular actor back in the 90s. I didn't even know Jeffrey was a singer. Maybe he's acting like a singer. Either way, he is outperforming the Lizzo. The question is, how did we get here? You gotta remember, 5 years ago, the Lizzo was loved by the mainstream media. She was formally accepted into Club Dunce. So, how did she go from topping the charts while topping double cheeseburgers to being outsold by the Modest Mouse? According to the Lizzo, there's a logical explanation for this. Check it out for yourself. I can explain why I'm a huge embarrassing failure, even though technically I'm no longer huge. I was a radio darling. I was really popular when my label was paying radio stations to play my music. Now that listening to me is voluntary, no one wants to hear my music. Also, I've been ruthlessly attacked. My character has been tarnished. It's so unfair. For starters, terrestrial radio has been dead for at least a decade, but let's just assume for a second that the Lizzo is right. What she's basically saying is, her music is no longer popular now that people have to play it themselves. Her music is no longer popular now that her label can't buy time on radio, which means her music was never really all that popular. The character attacks that she is referencing, I assume she is talking about the lawsuit. 3 years ago, the Lizzo was sued by her backup dancers. They accused the Lizzo of being ruthless. They accused the Lizzo of providing a hostile work environment. Basically, they accused the Lizzo of acting like the title of her new album that was just released 2 weeks ago. Lizzo is presenting herself publicly, at least by the title of her new album, as a bitch. Her words, not mine. And according to her backup dancers, art is imitating life. Which is strange when you think about it. I'm sure you guys remember some of the body positivity girls in high school. Most of them were overly nice, right? I remember in high school, there was this body positivity girl who had a crush on Uncle KC. She was a nice girl, but obviously the feelings were not mutual. But that didn't stop her from relentlessly pursuing me. So, being the southern gentleman that I am, I decided to be nice to her, and I let her do all my homework. Seriously though, body positivity girls, they're usually overly nice. Why? Because they know body positivity combined with being mean, they know that dog won't hunt. But with the Lizzo, it was the complete opposite. But that is not the reason her latest album is a huge embarrassing failure. Uncle KC will give you the real reason that her album flopped. Uncle KC, it's because her record label refused to promote the album. They didn't give my Lizzo a chance to succeed. I'm sure Atlantic refused to waste their money promoting this turd. Promoting a record is very expensive. Hell, producing a record is very expensive, which is why most artists are producing steaming turds nowadays, because the record labels, they refuse to invest because they know they won't receive a return on their investment. In the past, artists would receive a 6-figure advance to produce an album. Now, once the record was released, the artist wouldn't get paid until the label recouped their investment. Kind of hard to recoup that investment today because no one is buying records. But lack of promotion, that is not the reason the Lizzo is a huge embarrassing failure. The truth is, Lizzo was a gimmick, and like all gimmicks, they're designed to last for a certain amount of time, and for the Lizzo, time ran out. The rise of Lizzo, it's similar to the rise of Meg Rapinoe, the inspiration of prepubescent boys. Both Meg and Vivian, they struggled for years to make it in their respective industries. They both adopted gimmicks around the same time. Meg stole her gimmick from Colin Kaepernick and started kneeling for the national anthem. To her credit, Lizzo created a gimmick of body positivity. For a while, it worked. But here's the problem. For starters, to make it long-term in the music industry, you have to produce quality music. The music Lizzo produces is the drizzling shits. To make matters worse, Lizzo was promoting an unhealthy lifestyle in an era where healthy living has never been more embraced. Millennials, and especially Gen Z, these two generations are extremely conscious about our health. Right now, alcohol companies are struggling. Why? It's the boycott of Bud Light. They embrace the woke wiener by aligning themselves with Bob Dylan Mulvaney. Yeah, that definitely didn't help, but that is not the reason booze has boarded the Bruce caboose. People, especially young people, are no longer drinking. Last Friday, I had lunch with one of my friends. We used to go to happy hour together every night. We still get together for lunch or play golf, but he was telling me at lunch the other day that he went to happy hour for the first time in a while a week or two ago. Our happy hour bar, it used to be packed. There was 20, 30 of us in our happy hour group, and from Tuesday to Friday, you could not get a seat at the bar from 5 to 7. He stopped in recently for happy hour. Bar was completely empty. No one was there. Unfortunately, a lot of people from our happy hour group, they are no longer with us. The daily drinking caught up to them. Most of them died in their late 40s, early 50s. The guy that pretty much held the group together, he organized events. He was the Mardi Gras leader of the group. 2 years ago this month, I went to his funeral at the bar, and that day was really the genesis of Uncle KC no longer drinking. Happy hour was never the same after that day. You look at the empty chairs and realize, I'm next. The point is, Lizzo built a career on promoting an unhealthy lifestyle. It was supported by incredibly bad music, and once the gimmick became stale, the Lizzo's career moved from life support to being buried. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.